I'll call to order the work session for Wednesday, May 1st. Agenda item number 1 is a bid recommendation, information technology upgrade storage area network. Mr. Frost, you'll present. On board, Dr. Yeah. Unless you have something else on.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor, council members. Thank you, Deputy City Administrator.
You're welcome.
Before you is a recommendation to upgrade our storage area network. About 3 years ago, we purchased a storage area network. That network is essentially approaching 90% capacity. That has to do with a lot of video that we put on. In the last couple of years, we've changed out a lot of our cameras to high definition. And we've added a bunch more cameras. And we're doing a whole bunch more scanning. So what we want to do is essentially double the capacity of that, which essentially about 14 terabytes. This is going to be on the State of Maryland hardware contract. And the total purchase price is going to be $74,827.45. This will, it's essentially two systems. There'll be a shelf here and a shelf at the police department, so we maintain our replication back and forth. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, council, questions? We'll start with Councilman Sidnor.
I don't have any questions, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Nicholas.
No questions.
Councilman Les.
I'm fine with this, Mr. President.
Slam dunk. Mr. Frost. No questions.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We're good. Thank you. See, we have some guests here this evening. Is Tyra Dixon? That you? From Woodland Job Corps? You'll come up to the podium. We just want to welcome you and have you introduce the folks who came here with you.
Okay, hi, I'm Tyra Dixon, and I am the Peer Leadership Coordinator for Woodland Job Corps. Here we have Mr. Shaheem McGee. He's the President of Woodland Job Corps. Our Vice President, Mr. Ricky Butler, he's the Vice President. Our Committee Chairperson, Mr. Deontay Weddington Johnson. Patrick Sorowski, he's our Sergeant at Arms. And then we have Miss Rania Strong, and she's our Treasurer. And we're now getting ready. We had our Secretary, he has now stepped down, so the next time we come, we'll have our Treasurer as well with us.
Well, we want to certainly let you know that the door is open here for you and members of your team and anyone. We've had a great relationship over the years with Woodland Job Corps, and we certainly want to continue that. Now, are all the members of your team new, or
yes,
all are some who have been around the world?
They were just sworn in on Monday.
Okay.
So they're all new, and that's why we came, so we could get a little more in depth with how the meetings are supposed to go, and the minutes that's supposed to be documented. They don't know how all that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Ms. Rao, our city clerk, certainly can brief you on some of our procedures and how things work as well. But nothing beats actually attending a meeting and sitting in and seeing how things are done. Mayor?
No, just welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here. We look for our partnership to grow, and been a good one. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item B, FY 2020 proposed general operating budget and capital improvement program for 2019. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just real quick, you should have had our letter, but I want to read for those that may not have read it. I'll skim through some of this, and then Ms. Saylor will take it from there. Tonight, I'm pleased to present the FY 2020 City of Laurel proposed budget. It is presented without a tax rate increase. It maintains the city's real property tax at 0.71 cents per 100. And the personal property tax rate at 169 per 100 assessed value. Our special taxing district is still in place, which is a 0.03%, which all of that goes to the transit area that we have put together several years ago. The development and the preparation of this budget began with the focus on an effort to reduce expenditures, eliminate duplication, and streamline services. I want to commend management staff for all the work that they did. I'm also pleased to announce the city employees in the proposed budget will receive a 2.5% market adjustment, as well as the Laurel Police Department Fraternal Order of Police FOP Lodge 11. The collective bargaining agreement calls for 2.5% market adjustment as well under each of the 3-year contracts, which started in FY18. Merit steps are also funded in this, and they are at 2.5% for all city employees, contingent upon satisfactory performance evaluation. And again, Mr. President, as you know, in Annapolis, the minimum wage was a big push down there. The city continues to meet the minimum wage at this year at $11 an hour. We are concentrating on the services and permits and improved emergency notifications. Additional funds are included to cover the ongoing costs of the system and software maintenance and upgrades. Have also included funds for the annual report that was done last year by the Department of Communications, so it can be sent directly to members of the community. The FY 2020 budget also funds the City of Laurel general election, which is up this year. The city software for FY 2019 include new permits management component, which will improve the efficiency of our processes in the Department of Fire Marshal Permit Services and Department of Economic Community Services, allowing us to maintain data electronically in electronic format. Significant file management and records retention and other important documents began in FY 2019 and continues in its effort to help secure documents in a proper manner, make sure that they are kept for historical reasons, as well as Ms. Rao in particular with the historical documents such as the city's original charter they found and historical record books have been identified and looking to preserve those as well. Those are vital records of the city, and that will get costly, so that will be a program over years, as we talked about this morning as well. I think we've done many great things working together, and I think we should be very proud of the work that we've done in the past together. We successfully got some state grants again this year, $325,000 for the planning of the new multi-service center, as well as $250,000 state grant for enhancements for the Stephen P. Turney Recreational Complex. We received the Main Street designation this year. We added the monument, the Dr. Martin Luther King monument out front, the annual community health fair, the Keep Kids Alive Drive 25 that you all continue to push, and for the 26th straight year in a row, we have been a Tree City USA. This year we've added the closed caption in Laurel TV as well, and we created the new Business Resource Center located in the lobby at the Municipal Center. Under the capital improvement program, there's $452,500 for fleet equipment replacement of a leaf vac, dump trucks, a backhoe, as well as vehicles for inspections, park maintenance, and police vehicles. Additionally, the 2020 capital improvement focuses on street improvements, some technology, safety enhancements, and equipment, city facilities, park improvements, hazards mitigation, and the planning of the city's first multi-service center. Our administration has been working hard the past 6 months on the development of a succession plan to identify, train, and educate possible future leaders in the city government. You'll notice that the tuition and the training funds have been allocated this year, and for any employee who wishes to move forward in leadership positions, that money has been, you'll see that in the budget as well. We plan to enhance the recycling program to include an additional of organic composting. A pilot program has been implemented as a way of gauge effectiveness and will be monitored by the Department of Public Works. This will reduce our tipping fees that the city out of regular trash. It'll improve the environment and the awareness within our city and state. The 150th anniversary celebration is underway. They're planning that now. We have provided $30,000 for the planning and the activities of this event, which will take place in 2020, as well as the census will take place in 2020. We've added some funding in there to make sure that the word gets out regarding the census and how important that is to our community and local government. We'll continue our efforts to promote the economic viability of the city, enhance the economic stability of the city, and continue to encourage and support existing businesses. We'll promote the attractiveness of the city for new and those that want to locate in the city as well. For the fifth year in a row, council members have been able to access the mayor's proposed budget for the review of their city issued iPads. I didn't say, I'm just looking this way. It is tough to get used to, we know, but we appreciate everything that the council has done when we talk about the budget in particular, one of the biggest items we have to try to do this. And we are aware that we need to look at the iPad situation further as well. It's an exciting time in Laurel. I want to thank the City Council for their support during the last year and your commitment to providing the very best services to our residents and businesses. Thank you to the city's dedicated employees who demonstrate a strong work ethic every day and show great pride and performance in their duties. I look forward to the review and the adoption of the FY 2020 general operating budget and the capital improvement program. Mr. President, with that said, I'll ask Ms. Saylor to take it from here.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ms. Saylor?
Mr. President?
If you would, before you start, I'd just like to ask that when you're referring to any specific sections of the budget, if you'll identify
We
the
had that
page
new
number.
template this year.
Don't need that, huh? I can't get mine open, so unfortunately, I'm kind of. But
I'm
please
still working
proceed.
with snail something or another.
Well, let me scratch out from my from my letter that I just read.
Good evening. You have been presented with the FY 2020 budget. It is a balanced budget at a total of $34,723,870. Again, that's for the operating budget. It was submitted as required by charter, balanced, and by May 1st. The budget summaries that we'll talk about are on, begin on page 11 in the document. And
Please,
that,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Distraction. Go ahead.
So it summarizes the revenues into 8 different groupings on both pages 11 and 12. And there's 2 different ways to group the expenditures. On page 11 is the line item category, and on page 12 is the department category. So overall, the budget is 1.36% higher than the FY 2019 approved budget. Looking at page 11 in the revenue summary, you can see it's a total difference of $465,326. And each of the differences in those categories are provided for you. The local taxes, which includes the real estate tax, is the largest difference. Those were increases in the assessable base. And the next changes in the fines and forfeitures was a decrease based on our projections and the performance of the red light cameras, and a reduction in the miscellaneous revenues based on our reduced budgeting for the use of designated funds. So again, the net effect is an increase of 1.36%.
Michelle, if I could just interrupt you for just a second to hopefully make a point, and I'll ask the mayor or anyone else to chime in on fines and forfeitures. As you mentioned, the decrease, particularly in the red light cameras, I think we consider that a good thing, because that's the presumption that people are obeying the law and not getting ticketed and flashed. So I think it's a good point to make when you mention the decrease, that it's because of increased public safety.
Yes, sir. And that is based on the performance data. Even though you look at the history, we're looking at the FY19 year-to-date numbers, and this, like I said, the specific performance data that the police department is able to track for each of the sites. And so that has a corresponding effect on the operating expenses. On page 11, that summary, the decrease to the operating expenditures reflects the corresponding expenditures in the police budget for processing those citations. So the expenditure groupings on page 11, we have the compensation, which is the largest of our expenditures. As the mayor said, it provides for the 2.5% increase, market adjustment, as well as the merit increase. And we also prepared for that the potential for the minimum wage. And that compensation includes all full and part-time employees, as well as the recreation and auxiliary employees. The next groupings are the operating expenses, the capital outlay, the miscellaneous financial uses, which includes the transfer from the operating budget to the CIP, which is increased based on the highway user. And in this budget, we're not proposing any additional or new debt. These numbers are just based on the current amortization schedules of our current debt. So on page 12 in the other grouping for the expenditures, the departments are grouped by general government, public safety, public works, parks and recreation, and the non-departmental. And most of these changes again, so the change to the public safety, the decrease is because of the decrease in the processing fees for the red light cameras. The remaining department level budget increases are based on the pay plans. And the non-departmental is increasing based on the increases to the transfer to the CIP, the increase to the city's contribution to the pension plan, and those items that are in that grouping. The non-departmental. So we have these summaries, and representations of these summaries are in pie charts over the course of the next 3 pages, 13, 14, and 15. And then on page 16 is a FY 2020 tax rate distribution worksheet. So I've summarized based on the department level groupings of general government, public safety, and applied the direct revenue of those expenditures. And then that gives you the breakdown of how much of the 71-cent tax rate each of the expenditure groups needs to complete the funding based on this budget. So general government needs 16 cents, public safety 23, public works 14, parks and rec 10, and the non-departmental 9 cents. And that's in the far right column on page 16. Any other questions to this point? So the revenues begin on page 18. And again, the largest revenue source that we have is the real estate tax. These have been our tax rates since FY 2009. So this second column to the right, we are showing the gross revenue based on the figures that we received from the state of Maryland in February. And beneath that, you'll see the deductions for the various economic development tax incentives and other tax credits, such as the Historic District Commission, the Public Safety employees, and the elderly and veteran tax credit that were enacted through ordinances 1927 and 1928. So the total of the FY 2020 real estate tax is the $20,474,502. That's the net result of the gross tax less all the credit. So while we have the summary categories for the revenues, as shown again on pages 11 and 12, from pages 18 through 24, you'll see the detailed line items of all the revenue sources. Licenses, permits, grants, the state shared taxes, parks and recreation fees, service charges, fines and forfeitures, and the miscellaneous revenues. And so all those, as I was saying with the tax rate distribution worksheet, all of those revenues have been applied to the appropriate expenditures to give us that breakdown of how that tax rate is used to supply the services that we have. So that's all I have at this time for the overview and the revenues. If you have any questions or
comments for Michelle?
If I just to clarify, so I know I'll get a question from somebody. We show the TIF payments, but those are net payments net of what we actually gained in tax revenues. For example, Town Center is a good example. I remember the tax revenue was down to about a little over 100,000 when they actually bulldozed it. Okay, now the tax revenues is much, much larger. I don't know what it is. Let me just pick a number, $1 million.
right.
Okay, so the 275 was the TIF, tax incentive financing, not something we actually paid out.
Right.
So that people understand, this was essentially paid forward or obligated forward, so we would get a net increase in the tax revenue to the city.
Correct.
And each time we've done a TIF, that's happened.
Yes, sir.
I think Conti Road's a good example. We netted out on that one, we're netting out on the Town Center now.
Yeah.
So I don't get a phone call about we're giving money away. We're not
No,
giving anything away.
The 22 million number includes the gross
Right.
tax revenue for the town
Right.
center. And then, so that's the deduction of 60%. It's not the full tax increment revenue. It's just 60% of the new tax
Right.
money.
This is a good economic development tool that can be used by the city to push, in this case, a non-producing property back into a producing situation, producing tax revenues for the citizens.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
President, I just want to thank Dr. Saylor for taking time out this afternoon to explain some of this process to me before the meeting. So I want to appreciate that, you and the Deputy Director as well.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll now move to general government
Okay.
and the mayor and community promotion. Sarah?
Okay. For the office of the mayor, the budget begins on page 30. The total department budget is $631,153, and that's 8.41% lower than the FY 2019 approved budget. In addition to the mayor, there are 2 employees in the department. The proposed FY 2020 operating budget includes funding for various activities and expenses at the mayor's office and support services for the city's boards, commissions, and committees. Funds are also included for the mayor's summer jobs program for 13 Laurel youth residents ages 14 to 17, and that will be for 7 weeks. There are no anticipated equipment purchases budgeted for the mayor's office this year. The mayor's office provides support to the mayor in carrying out his responsibilities to the citizens and businesses of Laurel and securing the enforcement of all ordinances and resolutions passed by the city council, as well as the administration of city government. Our main goals and initiatives for FY 2020 include continuing to represent the mayor during the annual Maryland General Assembly session in Annapolis and at meetings of the Prince George's County Council as necessary. Additionally, the mayor's office staff will represent the mayor at the Laurel Historical Society board meetings and will staff the homelessness task force. The next budget that we have is the community promotions budget. It begins on page 35. The total department budget is $106,425. That's 14.09% higher than the FY 2019 approved budget. The proposed FY 2020 budget includes funding for advertising and printing for various needs and the promotion of citywide events and informational literature. This budget also includes funding for various civic organizations and special events. There are no anticipated equipment purchases in this budget. Community Promotions provides funding to promote and support city events, community events, civic improvements, and the general welfare of the city. Our main goals and initiatives for FY 2020 include taking the lead, along with the Department of Economic and Community Development, to get the word out and engage citizens to participate and be counted in the 2020 census, and to continue the city's support of the many programs and special events in the Laurel community. And then if there's any questions, Mr. President.
Council?
I'm fine, Mr. President.
Good. Thank you, Sarah. Next, we have the council clerk and elections. Ms. Rao?
Mr. President, the Office of the City Council budget starts on page 37. The total budget for this department is $109,122. It is 4% higher than the FY 2019 approved budget. The budget provides for the 5 city council members, for training, for office supplies, and community activities. There are no anticipated equipment purchases for this upcoming budget.
Council, any questions? Okay.
The next budget is the Office of the City Clerk, and you can find that budget on page 40. The total department budget is $188,928. It's 1% lower than the FY 2019 approved budget. There are 2 employees in this department, the clerk and the administrative assistant 1. The budget includes training expenses and operations for the office, supporting the city council members. There are no equipment purchases listed in this budget, and our goal is to support the city council in their continued efforts through the community. Any questions, Mr. President?
None from me. Council? No? Okay.
The last budget is the Department of Registration and Elections, and you'll find this budget on page 44. This budget is $41,684. It's 180% higher than last year's budget because we didn't have an election last year in 2019. This budget provides for 3 members of the Board of Election Supervisors, as well as election day judges and early voting day judges, provides for the machines, all the printing for the election, and the advertising prior to, and all the printing for the election process. There are no equipment purchases planned for this budget year.
Council, any questions or comments?
Mr. President, we'll, we will in fact, I assume, coming election cycle have Hispanic instructions. Is that correct, Ms. Rao?
We will continue, yes,
Yes.
with the Hispanic instructions.
Thank you.
We have done that for the last couple years with Ms. Navarro in the office, and she still remains supportive of our efforts.
Any other comments, council? None. Thank you, Ms. Rao. We'll now move to the budget for the city administrator.
Thank you.
Madam Deputy?
The city administrator's budget begins on page 46. The total department budget is $618,096, which is 3.62% higher than last year's approved budget. There are 7 employees in the department. The proposed budget includes a very minor equipment purchase that was recommended by our safety compliance officer for a piece of equipment called a push-pull meter, which gauges the load value of something you would push or pull. That's at $130. Well, good investment. The mission of our department is to provide management of the day-to-day operations of the city government, to provide assistance of all kinds of requests from our residents, provide support to all city departments, and the management of projects and initiatives as assigned by the mayor. Our main goals and initiatives for FY 2020 include the administration of a digital archives and file maintenance project, an update of the city's wellness program for implementation in FY 2021, and the development of a risk allocation cost program for insurance expenditures. We continue to evaluate and restructure internal processes to eliminate redundancy and to reduce costs, and to streamline city service delivery through the use of enhanced technology. Any questions?
Thank you. Seeing none? Thank you. We'll now move to the Department of Budget and Personnel Services. Taylor.
We know not to touch this one.
The Department of Budget and Personnel Service budget begins on page 51. The total department budget is $798,107. This is 3.87% higher than the FY 2019 approved budget. There are 9 employees in our department, 8 full-time and 1 auxiliary staff member. We have not requested any equipment purchases for FY 2020. And the mission for our department is to provide all financial management functions for the city funds, both the receipt and the disbursement, as well as citizen inquiries. And we also manage the human resources responsibilities, including payroll, pension, benefits, and HR policy administration. Our goals for the coming year, we're currently working and will continue and conclude in FY 2020 a comprehensive revision of our procedures manual for each of the positions in our office. We are looking, have started improvements to the job application process and tracking process. We will continue to coordinate citywide training for employee development And we will be further enhancing activities for the mayor's summer job program, such as taking them through the CPR course and safety awareness training, as well as possibly a mock council meeting. Last year they did a management staff meeting. They did fire extinguisher training. They were in the EOC for a drill. So that program has been enhanced further. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Mayor?
Michelle, could you just briefly go over for the council's benefit the pilot program that we're trying to institute within your office?
Currently in our office, we have taken a 30-day trial of the desktop adjustable workstation for folks to try. We're rotating it around in our office to those who are interested, and having other city employees come by and give it a try, and then we'll make the selection just to make things more ergonomically beneficial.
So these are the ones where you can stand up, you lift the,
Yes,
we have a couple of them in my own.
it's electronic. This one that we're trying is electronic, and it's on an existing desk. So it's not the full desk that's raising, although we'll be looking at
No,
those.
it's just
but
a portion, the surface portion of it that raises up. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
that's all I have.
That's all. Council, any questions or comments? No. Before we go on to the next budget, Ms. Dixon, as much as we'd love for you and your group to stay here, we certainly can understand that listening through this can sometimes be like watching grass grow. So if we welcome you to stay, don't misunderstand me, but if you guys just, I presume so, and I kind of saw some rather uneasy, when are they going to get finished with this so we can get out of here? Looks on the faces of your team. So if you want to leave, but know before you go that you are certainly welcome to come back to any of our meetings at any time. We'd certainly love to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I will now move to the Department of Communication.
Good evening. The Department of Communications budget begins on page 56. The total department budget is $653,057. That is 3.5% higher than fiscal year 2019. There are 13 employees in the department. The proposed fiscal year 2020 operating budget includes $16,965 to purchase equipment, including 3 tripods and 3 cameras for the council chambers. The mission of our department is to provide useful information to residents, businesses, and employees within Laurel and the greater Laurel area. This includes our hearing impaired community, which can now take advantage of closed captioning services on Laurel TV and at our government meetings. Our department is also responsible for staffing the passport office and the front desk of the municipal center. Our main goals and initiatives for fiscal year 2020 include expanding our outreach efforts and finding new and innovative ways to connect with our community. We also hope to launch a sponsorship program so the community can signal with their sponsorship the type of programming that appeals to them. Any questions?
Council? I do have one general question. We have franchise agreements with Comcast and Verizon. Can you just briefly tell us, over the years, does that revenue increase, say, based on the number of subscribers in the city, or whatever the agreement that was met at the time of the signing of the agreement stays until a renegotiation of the entire.
Now, Mr. Frost has been more intimately involved with the franchise negotiations and things like that, and I've been here. There has not been one negotiated since I've been here.
Right.
So as far as the longevity and how that's been done over time, I really don't have an answer for you.
The pay,
let me
yeah,
get the pay.
yeah. As our city grows, presumably there are more subscribers to Comcast or to Verizon. Okay, Mayor.
Let me, because I want to give you right information, I'm going to ask us to follow up. Let's get that in writing for the past 5 years on
Right.
both of those. More importantly, I think if you remember, when we did the franchise, we only had Comcast.
Right.
When we did the franchise for Verizon, we thought it was going to be this boom.
Yeah.
What ended up happening, people shifted over. And I think Kevin or Audrey or Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong. It is still, there's this balancing act. I don't think there's anyone that ever does anything. So,
Subscriber-wise, it's just right at about 50-50.
yeah. Is it? But
Verizon's got a little bit of an edge, but not by much.
we thought it was going to be this
we
big
did.
jump
We
of
did.
people
Yeah.
shifting.
That's why I was asking the question.
But we'll, if we could, let's get some the Verizon and Comcast numbers and money as well. I know it's in the budget, so that we can pull that out. We'll get
Okay.
that to you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Audrey.
Okay.
Our next department is Economic and Community Development.
Good evening. The Department of Economic and Community Development's budget begins on page 61. The total department budget is $522,427. That is a 4.6 higher percentage than the approved budget of last year. There are currently 6 employees within the department. There are no anticipated equipment purchases in the proposed budget. The mission of our department is to maintain and oversee the built environment for the city by being responsible for the review and update of the city's comprehensive master plan, zoning compliance with the Unified Land Development Code, subdivision and development review, as well as city planning, historic preservation, and economic development efforts. These activities are intended to continue to enhance the quality of life for the citizens of Laurel. Our main goals and initiatives for the fiscal year 2020 include develop and begin implementing a paperless zoning and historic district application process, conduct a comprehensive review and update of the city's Unified Land Development Code, continue to focus on business recruitment and retention by hosting various economic development events throughout the course of the year. Also, the department will be focusing on activities to prepare the community for the 2020 census update with the Office of the Mayor. We plan to have census informational events leading up to Census Day, which is on April 1st, 2020. Thank you. Are there any questions, Mr. President, for the council?
Council? No? Thank you, Ms. Pulley.
Thank you.
Department of Information Technology. Frost? No, he didn't.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, council members. The information technology budget begins on page 67. The proposed fiscal year 2020 IT budget is approximately $1,840,000. That is an increase of just under 1% from last year. We are currently at 9 employees. The 2020 operating budget has a $43,800 capital outlay for equipment. Currently, the requested equipment is 20 monitors, 20 desktop computers, 2 laptops, 3 printers, a high-speed scanner, and 14 iPads. And within that 14 iPads is a refresh for the council. The other iPads are for the FMPS, Fire Marshal and Permit Services, as we roll out our new permitting and land management software. The mission of our department is to enable the city to meet their objectives by providing and promoting the understanding and use of cutting-edge technologies. We do this by providing a high level of service, develop, maintaining, and enhancing our systems, identifying and promoting the use of new technologies, providing support and training, ensuring open and continuous communications and follow-up, and implementing best practice standards and procedures. As we begin fiscal year 2020, new initiatives are in the budget. As we transition to 2020, we will also carry over current major projects such as our EnerGov project, which should implement end of the summer and is in process now. Consultants are on site today, this week, and our CAD records management implementation at the police department. In fiscal year 2020, we continue subsurface fiber construction, and you should see proposals before you in the next several council meetings. We'll be continue to upgrade network switch upgrades, primarily at the police department and some of our other Parks and Rec buildings. The transition to Office 365 will begin in earnest. We are currently in beta testing with IT, and after July 1, that will complete a full rollout. We're going to upgrade our virtual server host, which is a major upgrade within the server room, and we're going to look at transitioning our phone system to Session Initiation Protocol, which is commonly known as SIP. That's the proposed IT budget, Mr. President. Prepared for any
Mr.
questions.
Frost. Any questions or comments? I do have one, just sort of refresher. When it comes to purchasing and planning for desktop computer replacement or cellular phones replacement, are those items in the IT budget, or are they part of a particular departmental budget? Say that community development needed new desktop computers. Is that out of their budget, or is that out of...
That's out of the IT budget.
Okay, so all of the...
And cell phones
hardware
also.
purchases.
Mobile phones also.
Mobile phone, right. Okay. I just wanted to verify that. So just kind of skimming through this, I didn't see where there were any place here where there will be the replacement, sort of life cycle replacement of any of our desktop computers or laptops or any of that. Maybe I overlooked.
It's in the capital outlay.
Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted to ask to be sure. Okay, that's all I have. Council? No? Thank you, Mr. Frost. Non-departmental? Michelle?
The non-departmental budgets begin on page 207, and they run through 214. So 207 to 214. So the total of this budget is $9,194,460, and this is 3.8% higher than the approved FY 2019 budget. On the following pages, you'll see the details for our debt service, one section for principal, one for interest. Again, we're not requesting any new debt to be issued. It also includes the city's contribution to the pension fund, which is made, which we're following the actuary's recommendation, which is based on the FY 2008 valuation of the pension plans. Additionally, there's a budget for employee training and a separate one for employee tuition, the employee insurance, as well as the miscellaneous financial uses, which shows the operating transfer to the CIP and the special taxing district expenditure allocation of the transit overlay tax, the additional 3 cents of the real estate tax. So that's what is on those following pages. In